Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something today that might sound simple, but it's powerful. Your next love is going to shock everybody. I mean everybody. The people who doubted you, the people who watched you cry, the people who thought you'd never get it together, and even the people who hurt you. Because the version of you that's coming out of that pain is not the same person who went into it. Your past relationship was a lesson, not a life sentence, and once you truly understand that, everything about how you see love begins to change. Too many people walk through life believing that what hurt them before is all they deserve in the future. They let one bad experience write the entire story of their love life. But that's not how life works. What you went through was not meant to destroy you. It was meant to teach you something about yourself, about people, and about what love is not. Every disappointment carried information. Every tear carried clarity. Every lonely night forced you to look at yourself and ask hard questions you avoided before. When a relationship ends, especially one that mattered, it can feel like failure. You start replaying moments in your head, wondering what you did wrong, what you could have said differently, how you could have held on a little longer. But growth begins when you stop blaming yourself for staying too long and start appreciating yourself for finally leaving. You didn't fail. You graduated from a lesson you needed to learn. Some people are only meant to walk with you for a season, not a lifetime. And if you try to keep a seasonal person in your forever, it will always cost you peace. That relationship taught you boundaries, even if you learned them the hard way. It showed you what disrespect feels like, so you'd never ignore it again. It revealed how draining it is to love someone who doesn't pour back into you. It taught you that love without effort, honesty, and consistency isn't love at all. Those lessons didn't come cheap, but they came with purpose. And once you accept that purpose, you stop seeing your past as baggage and start seeing it as wisdom. A life sentence means no way out, no growth, no hope of change. But your past relationship didn't trap you. It prepared you. You walked away with stronger discernment. You can now see red flags before you're emotionally invested. You understand that chemistry without character is chaos. You no longer confuse attention with intention or words with action. That's not damage, that's development. What people don't realize is that the strongest version of you was born after heartbreak. You learned how to survive disappointment. You learned how to sit with silence and not break. You learned that being alone is better than being disrespected. That realization alone changes the type of love you allow into your life. You don't rush anymore because you know what rushing costs. You don't ignore your intuition anymore because you remember what happened the last time you did. The mistake many people make is dragging guilt from the past into the future. They think because something didn't work before, nothing will work later. That's fear talking, not truth. Your next relationship doesn't have to pay for the mistakes of the last one, but it will benefit from the wisdom you gained. You are not starting over from scratch. You're starting over from experience. Once you release the idea that your past defines you, you free yourself to love again without chains. You stop punishing yourself for staying too long and start honoring yourself for surviving it. You understand that your story didn't end there. It evolved. And when you truly accept that your past relationship was a lesson and not a life sentence, you step into your future lighter, clearer, and stronger than ever before. Healing changes your standards and your tolerance in ways you don't even notice at first. It happens quietly in moments when you choose peace over arguments, rest over chaos, and self-respect over attention. At the beginning of your healing journey, you may think nothing is changing because there's no applause, no announcement, no dramatic transformation overnight. But deep inside, something is shifting. You start seeing things differently. What once felt normal now feels exhausting. What you once tolerated now feels unnecessary. And that's how you know healing is working. Before healing, you might have accepted behavior simply because you wanted love so badly. You made excuses for inconsistency. You explained away disrespect. You convinced yourself that potential was enough, even when reality kept hurting you. You stayed longer than you should have because you believed love meant endurance. But healing teaches you that love is not supposed to drain you. Love is not meant to confuse you or keep you anxious. Real love feels safe, steady, and mutual. As you heal, your tolerance for nonsense drops dramatically. You stop answering late-night messages that go nowhere. You stop entertaining conversations that lack clarity or direction. You no longer accept half-truths, mixed signals, or empty promises. Not because you've become cold, but because you've become conscious. You now understand that every time you tolerate less than you deserve, you're teaching people how to treat you. Your standards rise because your self-worth rises. Healing helps you realize that being chosen isn't enough. You need to be valued. Attention isn't enough. You need consistency. Words aren't enough. You need action. You stop being impressed by surface level charm and start paying attention to character. You listen more closely to how someone behaves when things are difficult, not just when things are easy. One of the biggest shifts healing brings is the ability to walk away without guilt. Before, leaving felt like failure. It felt like you didn't try hard enough. But healing teaches you that staying in something that harms you is not loyalty, it's self-betrayal. You learn that protecting your peace is not selfish, it's necessary. And once you understand that, you stop forcing connections that don't align with who you're becoming. Healing also changes the pace at which you move. You no longer rush intimacy or commitment just to feel secure. You let people show you who they are over time. You give space for consistency to prove itself. You understand that what's meant for you will not require you to chase, beg, or overextend yourself. That patience isn't passive, it's powerful. Another quiet change healing brings is emotional discipline. You don't react the same way you used to. You don't argue to be understood by people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You don't explain your boundaries repeatedly. You say what you mean once, and if it's ignored, you take action instead of giving speeches. That calm strength is something you only gain through experience and self-reflection. People may notice that you're different, and not always in a good way. They might say you've changed, that you're harder to please, that you don't tolerate what you used to. And they're right. You did change. You had to. Because the old version of you accepted pain just to keep someone. The healed version of you chooses peace, even if it means walking alone for a while. In the end, healing doesn't make you demanding. It makes you discerning. It doesn't close your heart. It protects it. Your standards and tolerance didn't change because you became bitter. They changed because you finally learned how valuable you are. Growth makes you unrecognizable to people from your past, and that is one of the most powerful transformations you will ever experience. When you start truly growing mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, everything about you shifts in ways that some people will barely recognize. Your thoughts, your priorities, your behavior, even your energy changes, and suddenly the person you used to be seems like a distant memory. Growth doesn't happen overnight. It happens gradually, in small choices, in quiet reflections, in the decisions you make when nobody is watching. And that is why, when people from your past meet you again, they are often shocked, not because you've changed for them, but because you've changed for yourself. People from your past are used to a version of you that was familiar, predictable, and perhaps even limited. They knew what to expect from you, how to manipulate your emotions, or how to keep you in a space that was comfortable for them. But growth pulls you out of that comfort zone. It challenges old patterns, rewires old habits, and forces you to see the world differently. You begin to value yourself in ways you never did before. You stop accepting treatment that once felt normal. You stop compromising your standards to please people who didn't respect you. And as a result, your behavior begins to surprise people who thought they knew exactly who you were. One of the most visible signs of growth is confidence. When you grow, you start holding yourself differently. You speak differently. You carry yourself with a quiet authority because you know your worth and you no longer feel the need to prove yourself to anyone. People who knew you before may try to test you, make jokes at your expense, or even attempt to pull you back into old dynamics. But your growth shields you from falling back into those patterns. You've developed an inner strength that doesn't seek external validation, and that is exactly what makes you unrecognizable to those who were used to taking advantage of your insecurities. Growth also changes how you handle relationships. You begin to attract people who align with your energy, not people who drain it. You stop seeking approval from everyone around you and start investing in those who respect your boundaries and uplift your spirit. The love you give now is intentional, not desperate. The friendships you nurture now are genuine, not transactional. And the connections you maintain now are based on mutual respect and shared values rather than convenience or habit. When people from your past see this, they are often surprised because they never imagined you would reach a point where you could demand and receive the respect you deserve. Another subtle but profound change that comes with growth is emotional intelligence. You no longer react impulsively to challenges or conflicts. You think before you speak. You listen before you respond. You choose your battles wisely, and you invest your energy where it truly matters. People who knew the old you, who may have seen you react emotionally, overextend yourself, or get caught up in drama, will notice this transformation immediately. It's not just that you have changed externally, it's that you operate from a deeper, more grounded place internally. Growth also forces clarity in your vision for life. You start setting goals that are meaningful to you, not just goals that satisfy societal expectations or the approval of others. You begin to prioritize personal development, health, happiness, and fulfillment. The people who knew you in the past might have expected you to stay stagnant, to remain in the same cycles of behavior and choice. But growth doesn't allow stagnation. It moves you forward, often leaving behind the familiarity that once held you back. Ultimately, growth is liberating. It breaks the chains of the past and allows you to step fully into the person you were always meant to be. People from your past may struggle to reconcile the old version of you with the new one. They may feel challenged by your boundaries, surprised by your confidence, or even intimidated by your clarity. But that's exactly the point. Growth is not about making others comfortable. It's about making yourself whole. And when you embrace it fully, you become someone so evolved, so resilient, and so empowered that even those who once thought they knew you can hardly recognize the strength, wisdom, and beauty you now carry. Silence and self-respect attract better love. And once you understand this truth, it changes everything about the way you approach relationships. Too many people make the mistake of trying to force love, of begging for attention, or of explaining themselves endlessly to someone who doesn't see their value. But when you cultivate silence and self-respect, you stop chasing and you start allowing love to find its way to you naturally. Silence isn't about withdrawal, it's about strength. It's about understanding that not everything needs a reaction, not every slight needs an explanation, and not every person deserves your energy. When you learn to sit quietly with yourself and hold your peace sacred, you create a space where the right kind of love can enter without distortion or complication. Self-respect is the cornerstone of this transformation. When you respect yourself, you stop tolerating behavior that undermines your worth. You no longer accept inconsistencies as a norm, and you no longer make excuses for people who fail to show up. Self-respect teaches you that your time, your energy, and your emotions are valuable, and that anyone who cannot honor them is not worth holding close. This shift changes everything about how you engage with love. Instead of chasing someone who is indifferent, you wait for someone who is intentional. Instead of explaining your boundaries repeatedly, you hold them firmly, knowing that anyone who truly cares will honor them without question. Silence works hand in hand with self-respect because it demonstrates that your energy is precious. When you stop reacting to every text, every argument, or every attempt to manipulate you, people notice. They begin to see that you are not easily swayed or controlled. That quiet confidence draws the right people towards you while filtering out the wrong ones. It's a magnetic force that cannot be forced or fabricated. People are naturally attracted to those who are calm, composed, and secure in themselves. They are drawn to the person who does not beg for validation because that person has already found validation within. Another powerful effect of silence and self-respect is that it forces reflection, both yours and theirs. When you stop over-explaining and over-compromising, the people around you are forced to evaluate their own behavior. If they truly value you, they will step up. If they do not, the silence exposes the gaps, the insincerity, and the lack of commitment. In a way, your quiet strength becomes a test, a filter that separates those who are genuinely aligned with you from those who are not. It allows you to conserve your energy for the people and relationships that are truly meaningful, rather than exhausting yourself on those who are not. The beauty of this approach is that it changes the dynamics of attraction entirely. In the past, you may have felt the need to perform, to explain, or to prove your worth. Now, you simply exist in your power and allow your presence to speak for itself. That presence communicates confidence, security, and clarity, qualities that cannot be faked. People are drawn to authenticity, and when you are grounded in silence and self-respect, you naturally project it. The love that arrives in your life under these conditions is different. It is not frantic, desperate, or conditional. It is steady, intentional, and aligned with who you have become. Furthermore, silence and self-respect cultivate patience. You are no longer rushing love because you feel incomplete or afraid of being alone. You have learned to find completeness within yourself. You understand that the right love will not require you to compromise your values, demean your self-worth, or chase endlessly. You can wait confidently knowing that when the right person enters your life, the connection will be mutual, effortless, and deeply fulfilling. In the end, what makes silence and self-respect so transformative is that they create a new standard for love. You are no longer accepting what is easy or convenient. You are holding out for what is meaningful and right. This approach naturally attracts better love because you are no longer seeking to fill gaps or soothe insecurities. Instead, you are inviting a love that complements your strength, matches your integrity, and honors your journey. When you combine silence with self-respect, you are no longer chasing love. You are becoming the kind of person who draws love effortlessly, the kind of person whose next relationship will shock everyone because it is so aligned with the best version of yourself. The right love arrives when you stop begging for it, and understanding this truth is one of the most liberating lessons you will ever learn. Too often, people chase love as if it were a fleeting opportunity, as if they must convince someone to see their worth or earn the affection they crave. They send endless messages, overanalyze every response, and bend themselves into shapes that aren't true just to hold on to someone. But the reality is that love that is genuine, healthy, and lasting does not need to be begged for. The right person will recognize your value without hesitation, will show up without being convinced, and will invest in you willingly, without coercion. When you understand this, you begin to step back from desperation and step into patience, trust, and self-assurance. Begging for love is exhausting because it creates a power imbalance. When you chase someone who is not fully present, you give away your energy, your confidence, and your dignity, you find yourself negotiating for attention that should be freely given. You compromise parts of yourself that should remain sacred. And in that state, love cannot flourish because it is not built on mutual desire. It is built on need, on fear, and on insecurity. Real love cannot thrive under the weight of one-sided effort. It must be mutual, intentional, and consistent. The moment you stop begging, you reclaim your power and allow space for a love that matches your energy. One of the most important shifts that happens when you stop begging for love is the way you value yourself. You begin to realize that your worth is not dependent on someone else's approval or affection. You learn that the measure of your desirability is not how much someone fights for you, but how much you fight for yourself to maintain your standards, your integrity, and your peace. This realization transforms every interaction. You no longer settle for crumbs, and you no longer invest in relationships that are not reciprocal. You start expecting and demanding love that is generous, consistent, and nourishing. And that expectation is not arrogance. It is self-respect in action. When you stop begging for love, you also learn to observe the true intentions of those around you. People reveal their character over time, not in words, but in actions. Those who truly care will show up willingly, consistently, and authentically. Those who are indifferent, distracted, or unwilling to meet your needs will naturally drift away. This process filters out toxic or uncommitted relationships, leaving space only for connections that are genuine and aligned with your values. It may feel uncomfortable at first to let go of people who are convenient or familiar, but the discomfort is temporary. What remains is clarity, freedom, and the possibility of a love that is real. Stopping the chase also brings peace. When you are no longer consumed by the need to convince someone to love you, you free your mind, your heart, and your energy from constant anxiety. You stop replaying conversations, overanalyzing behavior, and second-guessing intentions. Instead, you focus on your life, your growth, and your happiness. This peace is magnetic because it signals to the universe and to the people around you that you are complete, whole, and not dependent on anyone else to validate your existence. People are drawn to individuals who are self-assured, grounded, and emotionally available. Ironically, the moment you stop chasing love is often the moment it finds you. Another profound effect of letting go of begging is that it allows love to arrive naturally and effortlessly. When you are not forcing, manipulating, or pleading, love has the space to manifest in its purest form. You meet someone who is aligned with your values, your energy, and your vision for the future. The connection feels mutual, easy, and inspiring. You no longer have to overcompensate or prove your worth because the right person sees it without being asked. That love is transformative because it is free from desperation, insecurity, and imbalance. It is the love you always deserved but could not receive while you were still chasing. Ultimately, the right love arrives not when you are desperate, not when you are forcing it, and not when you are compromising your standards. It arrives when you have healed, grown, and learned to honor yourself. It arrives when you stop begging for it and start living in alignment with your highest self. And when it does arrive, it is powerful, undeniable, and shocking to everyone who knew the old you, the person who once tolerated less, chased endlessly, and gave away their energy for scraps. The love that comes after patience, self-respect, and letting go is a love that reflects your value, mirrors your growth, and elevates everything you thought was possible in a relationship. Your next love will reflect your new mindset, not your old pain. And that is one of the most profound transformations you can experience in life. Too many people carry their past into their future relationships, allowing old heartbreak, old insecurities, and old disappointments to dictate how they love and who they choose. But the truth is, the love that is coming for you will not be based on who you were or what you went through. It will be based on who you have become. When you heal, grow, and evolve, your next relationship is no longer about filling gaps or soothing fears. It becomes about mutual respect, alignment, and the celebration of the person you have worked so hard to become. The people who hurt you, the ones who doubted you, and the relationships that left scars are not irrelevant. They are lessons. They taught you what not to accept, what to demand, and what to value. They showed you your resilience and your capacity to endure. But when you carry those experiences into your next love, you have a choice. You can carry them as baggage, or you can carry them as wisdom. If you carry them as wisdom, your next love will be completely different. It will not be shaped by fear, desperation, or neediness. It will be shaped by clarity, confidence, and self-awareness. One of the most powerful aspects of a love born from a new mindset is that it is intentional. You are no longer just attracted to someone because of chemistry or convenience. You are drawn to qualities that align with your values, your vision, and your growth. You recognize the importance of shared principles, emotional maturity, and genuine commitment. Your past may have taught you to settle, to excuse inconsistency, or to overlook red flags, but your new mindset does not allow that. You now understand that love is not just a feeling. It is a choice, an alignment, and a mutual investment. And that understanding changes everything about the way you enter a relationship. Your next love will also reflect the self-respect you have cultivated. When you have healed from your old pain, you no longer tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or half-hearted efforts. You have developed boundaries that are non-negotiable, and anyone who enters your life must honor them. This self-respect is magnetic. People are drawn to those who value themselves because it signals strength, stability, and clarity. And when someone steps into your life with genuine intentions, they meet a version of you that is whole, confident, and unafraid to demand what you deserve. That is the shock to everyone who knew the old you, the person who may have once tolerated less or accepted inconsistency. Growth also changes the way you communicate and connect. Your next love will reflect not just who you are, but how you relate to others. You have learned to listen deeply, express yourself clearly, and respond from a place of understanding rather than fear. You no longer react impulsively or seek validation for every action. Instead, you engage with thoughtfulness, patience, and authenticity. This level of emotional intelligence is something that cannot be faked, and it naturally transforms the dynamic of any relationship. Your partner will meet someone who is grounded, composed, and intentional in love, someone whose presence elevates the relationship rather than complicates it. Another important aspect is that your next love will honor your journey, not judge it. People from your past may have seen your struggles, your mistakes, or your vulnerabilities, but your next partner sees the strength, wisdom, and resilience that emerged from those experiences. They will respect how far you have come, and they will celebrate the person you have become rather than trying to fix or change you. That kind of love is transformative because it allows you to be fully yourself without compromise. It is liberating, empowering, and entirely different from the love that was once shaped by pain and insecurity. Finally, your next love will be a reflection of your evolved energy. People often underestimate how much energy shapes attraction. When you carry self-assurance, clarity, and peace, you emit a frequency that draws the right kind of people toward you. Your next love is attracted to the strength you have built, the lessons you have learned, and the growth you have achieved. It does not come to fill gaps or heal wounds. It comes to complement a person who is whole and confident. That is why your next love will shock everyone. It is not the same love, the same person, or the same dynamic as before. It is a love that mirrors the best version of yourself, the version that has survived, healed, and risen stronger than ever. When this love arrives, everyone who witnessed your past struggles will see the transformation. They will see the peace in your demeanor, the confidence in your choices, and the clarity in your heart. Your next love is not just a new relationship. It is a declaration of your evolution, a testament to your resilience, and a celebration of the person you have become. It reflects a mindset that refuses to settle, a heart that knows its worth, and a life that no longer allows past pain to dictate its future. This is the love that everyone will notice, admire, and perhaps even envy, because it is the love of someone who has truly grown, truly healed, and truly understood what they deserve.